These have been the voyages of the Space Shuttle Discovery. Her 30-year mission, to seek out new science, to build new outposts, to bring nations together on the final frontier, to boldly go and do what no spacecraft has done before.
Spoopy meme. Hello. It is Sunday, my dudes.
Yep, we took
Welcome.
a little extendo break.
Yeah, we took a nice little vacay.
Yeah, new president. You know, we gotta. Everything's good now, so we all went to brunch.
Yep, we all went to mimosa, bottomless mimosas, because the entire planet's fixed now that Joe Biden's president. There's nothing wrong. Cheeto is gone. Everything's great now.
Yeah. Carlos and I were just soggy waffling at a brunch the other day. Everything's normal, back to what it was pre-COVID.
Yep.
What?
Back to what it was in the 1960s.
Oh, jeez. Don't ban me, Twitch, please.
Please.
God, how's everyone's week been? It's been like a minute since we've all congregated and on the show together.
I know it's been okay.
How
a lot of work.
has my week been?
Lots of sleepless nights for Michael.
First thing Michael did when he joined our call pre-show is, I haven't slept in 24 hours.
And he's wearing the full doomer fit.
My sleep schedule's all fucked, so like I was like, all right, let me see if I can like stay up for 24 hours. Maybe I could like fix this. So I stayed up for 24 hours and I did it, and I knew I had the show, so I was like, all right, let me go get some sleep before I join. So I slept for like 2 hours, but it was like a really good 2 hours. Like I could have definitely kept sleeping.
Oh yeah, I could tell.
Hey, yeah, I know you sounded like half dead when you joined. Kind of jealous.
You look good though. You look good.
He always looks good.
I just threw on a random fit.
And so does that guitar in the background. That looks real.
Yeah, new guitar.
Yes. Came in today. I played it. It's so nice.
Kind of looks like the one my friend Leo Lopez.
Yes.
God damn it.
That podcast money doing something special to Michael.
It's true. Michael got that Patreon money and don't know what to do with it.
Michael got that podcast OnlyFans and decided
Michael
to buy
take
a
my
guitar.
paycheck.
Michael take my...
Yeah.
Wait, you guys are getting paid?
Wait, you aren't?
We just lost one of our mayos. So I guess I'll intro us into the first part of the show. It's gonna be a video from the Gravel Institute, with special guest Richard Wolff, and he's gonna be talking about how capitalism exploits us all. It's a not too long of a video, and it's very informative. And then for this one, can we go ahead and get the cameras cut for the video? Just because the Gravel Institute always put infographics on the screen or whatnot.
And we back.
Okay, Carlos, let's go ahead and say fuck you. All right, no, I'm kidding. He's pulling it up right now.
Yeah.
Let's go.
So check out this video from the Gravel Institute, and we'll be right back after this.
Right now, as you're listening to this, you are being robbed. A chunk of everything your hard work creates is being stolen from you, and it's a system called capitalism that's robbing you. Every day when you check into work for your boss, you are being taken advantage of and stolen from.
I'm being taken advantage of right now.
Of the full value of what you contribute.
They got me for my phones.
A capitalist isn't someone in a top hat burning library books to run a misery factory. Anyone who puts forward capital, money, to set workers in motion becomes thereby a capitalist. That is to say, they're acting as a capitalist. And what's their goal? People will tell you it's innovation or competition, but down the real world, it's pretty simple. Capitalists have one goal, and that goal is to turn a profit. Pursuing profits to accumulate money is just how capitalism works. That's the nature of the beast. It's the single impulse of capitalism. That doesn't make capitalists personally greedy, though some might be. We're not even talking about good or evil here. Capitalists need to maximize profit to the exclusion of all other considerations, or they'll get eaten up by capitalists who are smarter or more ruthless than them. That's the jungle law of the market. So capitalists need profit to survive. But where does this profit come from? And that's where you come in. Literally, profit comes from you. Here's a little thought experiment. Meet Harold. Harold has a chain of buildings full of kitchens full of ingredients. But Harold doesn't know how to make a burger himself. How does Harold get someone to make enough burgers that he can sell them and turn up profit? It's not a trick question. He pays you because you know how to make really good burgers. The money he uses to pay you is what we call capital. That's money used to set production into motion. Let's say Harold spent $1,000 buying all the ingredients in the restaurant. And after you worked for a few weeks there, turning the ingredients into burgers, they brought in $3,000. Not bad. You added $2,000 worth of value to the ingredients. But wait, you don't get all the money because Harold now has $3,000 on his hands. $1,000 of that is just making up for the cost of the ingredients. And if you were paid for the full value of your labor, you'd be making $2,000. But then Harold would only be breaking even on the burgers, and he needs to make a profit in order to survive. So Harold does not pay you for the full value of your labor. Maybe he pays you just $1,000 of the value you produced. Maybe he pays you $1,500. No matter what, you've been stolen from. You spent more of your labor than you were compensated for. But here's the dirty truth. The story doesn't end with you and Harold. This process plays out across your city or town, your state, the country, the entire world. The rich get richer and the little guy barely gets by. We call the process, a boss is stealing from you, exploitation. We don't mean that in an emotional sense about how we feel about it, but something that's actually a documented economic phenomenon. The gap between how much the worker produces and how much they get paid. Exploitation is a universal feature of capitalist economies, and it never ends. The system requires more and more exploitation, paying workers less, making them work more, or making them more productive without increasing their wages. When you see in the newspaper that a corporation's recording record profits, that is what they are doing. Your hard work is producing more value, but you're not getting enough compensation in return. There are tens of thousands of Harolds out there, but billions of people just like you. You and Harold are two different types of people. You belong to two different classes. There's a capitalist who owns the means to produce goods and services, and there's the workers who only have their own labor to survive on. The capitalists appropriate the value that the workers' labor creates and keep it for themselves. And you are not immune from it. At any job you work at, the condition of your employment is that you produce more by your labor than you get paid. So in the capitalist system, no one is paid what they're worth. All profit is value extraction, and that means that all profit is theft from you. This is Richard Wolff, professor of economics at the New School University for the Gravel Institute.
But Elon Musk, he has the ideas. He's the entrepreneur. He must defend Elon Musk.
You see, you don't understand. Elon Musk could make that car from scratch if he wanted to.
No, you see, Elon Musk, he goes to the Bolivian lithium mines himself.
And the part, and this is from stuff I've heard from other Richard Wolff talks too, that they haven't explained too, is all the stuff that they use in the pre-production prior too. We're not asking how the employer gets that is too, all this accumulated wealth and resources they use, which
exactly.
The point of that is that you need an obscene amount of money usually to make an obscene amount of money.
And I was just about to add to that bit, and like a common meme is, the entrepreneur is taking all the risk when starting a business, blah 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 blah. Biggest risk taker, therefore he deserves the most. To even have the capital in the first place to start a business means that you'll most likely be fine if that business fails.
Yeah,
and
you
also
already have that option,
and also what that failure means is you just go back to the working force. The failure doesn't mean you're homeless. The failure means you're just an employee again. When a normal employee takes that risk of going on to a business, if that business fails, they lose everything because they had nothing before. So this whole preconceived notion that the entrepreneur is taking this huge risk by investing in this great idea that he had, deserves all this money. You look at it, he has the capital to not only start a business, and if failed, he's based on the fact that he had the capital to start the business in the first place, he'll have the capital to be okay.
Right.
And that's what it is. Look
at what the opposite side of the coin is too. What the detriment is for the worker. Like if they don't have a job, like they don't live somewhere.
Exactly. They don't live.
Yeah, they don't. Yeah, exactly. They don't even have the option to start a business because they don't have accumulated capital.
Exactly. When you look at Jeff Bezos, the entrepreneur, great idea, who got almost $300,000 from his parents as an investment.
Yeah, all these guys.
He was gonna be fine if he never started Amazon. His parents were able to give him $300,000, almost $300,000. I think it was like 2 something. But anyway, doesn't matter. Any sort of 100,000, any sort of 1,000, if your parents can just give you that without batting an eye, you're gonna be fine in life.
Right. You're right. The myth of like the entrepreneur is pushed on us as like an excuse.
Exactly. And it just feeds into the whole idea of the American dream.
Well, because it brings up an important question of like, what does someone like Jeff Bezos deserve for what he did in starting Amazon? I don't think he deserves to stand atop the world.
The guillotine.
But yeah, I'm not saying he should go be homeless out on the street. I mean, like, come on. I mean,
what I always say is, I guess when I talk to people at work about this stuff, who I can't just be like, so all profit is theft, socialism rules. I get what I say usually is, which is true. I guess this is more of like a sock dem take is, We can talk about that after everybody else is taken care of, after all Amazon employees make a decent living doing whatever it is that they do. Every Amazon employee should be paid decent wages so they can live a decent life, and actually live the American dream or whatever. Save up and get a house, have a car, start a family, etc. Go to school. Once we take care of that, sure, then we can negotiate how much Jeff Bezos makes. But before then, don't fucking talk to me about how much the CEO makes. The CEO does not fucking matter in that situation until every single one of his employees has the right to live a decent life. That's usually like how I explain it, I guess, to people who aren't so politically inclined.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we're all taught and people want to think that. I honestly think it's just people don't want to realize that the meritocracy doesn't exist. They want to believe that some part of their hard work can be rewarded because people do work fucking hard. Normal people do work fucking hard.
Exactly.
And they've been sold, like all of us, a lie that
you just keep
hard
working
work
hard
is going to, if you work hard enough, people that have gotten the short end of the stick, it's because they didn't work hard enough. And that's just a myth, a total lie.
Of course. I've used this example fucking a million times. Single moms in fucking Detroit or in the deep South working like 2 or 3 jobs and still barely able to make rent and put food on their kids' table.
Yeah,
it's like one of the most normal realities that happen.
And you compare that to Jeff Bezos.
Exactly. Who makes I believe the number is like $13.5 million an hour. Exactly.
Right. Yeah. It's so obscene. It's a number that doesn't matter at this point.
Well, and think about the cycle it creates, because people like Bezos get to accumulate all that capital, and then they're in the position of being the money barons.
Yes.
Well, no, if anything, it's just people have to go to them for money. So it creates power.
Yeah.
And
and that's the whole idea behind charity is we don't need the government because we have people like Jeff Bezos who will do charity.
Right.
When in reality,
what is it, like 60 or something % of all wealth is inherited now?
60% of all wealth is passed on through generation.
Yeah. So, and I think that's only going to increase too. So, and yeah, to Carlos's point too, they do it on other means of being money barons too. Like you have to go through them through.
Yeah, if only just capital. Because they're put in that.
You want
position.
A COVID vaccine? You got to come
the ownership
through,
position.
Yeah, through the owners. You want a job? You got to come through us. You want healthcare? You got to come through us.
And another thing that's not really talked about when talking about intergenerational wealth is not even just waiting until they fucking croak to get the money. It's what that money does for you while it's still alive. Getting top tier education, getting unlimited economic opportunities to do anything you want. Doesn't matter if you fail at it because Daddy Bezos will take care of you. What that money creates is unmatched.
Yeah.
And I guess to add to my point, what I just said, what that money creates is unmatched because you have what will be the Bezos, the Bezos kids taking over, and then you have the inner city kids who have decades old textbooks, prison school pipeline. Like that's the reality that wealth creates.
Yeah, that's
the mismanagement of fund or of resources.
Yeah, that's what a lot of our show is about, with trying to at least dig into the economic side of things, because that's where a lot of the problems lie in stuff like this with exploitation, that it happens every day. So no one talks about it. You can only move so far
left socially without moving left economically.
Yeah. You just got to demystify economics, because most Americans think they can't understand it or something, or that it's some like abstract notion, but like all the humanities, they're all intertwined.
Mm-hmm.
And economics is about what it really should be about, is giving everyone, it's about achieving justice and giving everyone their fair due, making sure everyone has a home and healthcare.
Exactly.
Like, that's the reality.
What's also interesting but sad is that do you guys see this system actually changing anytime soon?
No.
Or do you think we're gonna make a strive to make it better anytime soon?
Did you guys listen to the that poet for the inauguration?
No.
Yeah, I did.
Did you? That she kind of addresses that issue, and I hate the way she does it, but it's like this hope that we can move. Yeah, like that somehow we can return to. It's just like MAGA. Like we can return to some reality that never existed. Like we can go back to some America that never existed, that somehow was equal for all of us.
Like build back better. Like
yeah, build back better, and just the things. We're a bruised country, but we can come together and be strong. None of it has to do with policy or like actual helping people, but it's all just this creation of like a mythical past where we somehow America is the force for good.
Restore the soul of the nation, Jack.
Yeah, restoring.
Like what is
exactly? That's his.
What
thing.
is the soul? What is the soul of the nation? When you look back at
when do you like? When did we lose it? Like, are you saying we just recently, because of Trump, lost it? No, we got to restore it. Like, if we lost our soul, dude, that was a long fucking time.
At the point of inception.
Yeah.
When we started genociding the native peoples, when we had African American slaves, when we forced Asian and Asian Americans to do forced labor, push them into camps. Yeah, the list goes like at one point did we have the soul and when did we lose it? Can you point out a specific time? What policies were enacted that? Yeah, like it's all built on this fallacy that there was some point. I mean, for Joe Biden and his crowd, wealthy, white, affluent, white, males. Yeah, of course, there was a time where they were very dominant in American society, but that's still obviously not that's not factual that there was ever a good time in America.
And
to deny that any part of Joe Biden's description that I just gave, being affluent, white, being well off financially, I said affluent, same thing, but also being in a part of the political machine, all those are very valid reasons, why America is the way it is.
Yeah, he's a creation of that, all that, yeah.
What were you gonna say, Carlos? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm trying to get my thoughts together.
Just cut me off whenever. Then. Oh wait, go ahead.
Yeah. So, obviously every country's got dirt on their hands in some way or another with imperialism or resource extraction from the planet, all kinds of things. But yeah, when the way these people talk about America, meaning the ruling elites, they act like we have the least dirt on our hands, right. We're the most pure, and that everyone else should aspire to be like us. But when you look at what happens when people aspire to be like us, it gets real dirty, the environment gets real bad, and I mean with Joe Biden, because he's acting like you said, that there's an America we can go back to as the model, right, of at least how to move forward. But
it's not the one we think, like an FDR social democracy version.
But he has no path. But that's the problem lies in his argument of he wants us to go back to a point where he thinks we can move forward better, but he doesn't have a real plan of a better path forward. It's all just like the minor tweaks around the edges that have been suggested for decades in the past. He's not actually moving us towards some new, unforeseen, future that might actually make things better. It's just the same garbage to try to, save capitalism in a last-ditch effort at best.
Right.
From Biden. But that's all he was all he was at best to begin with.
Something that I just thought of that, small brains like us don't get. He is doing exactly what he said. He's going to get America to such a terrible point where an FDR style person can't lose. He's doing what he said he's going to do. He's going to fuck over America.
He's I buy power for.
Yeah, he's throwing on purpose just so we get, actually. I got to buy my blue MAGA hat now. The America was already.
He's throwing for, the even further right to come in 2024.
Oh no, yeah, I'm joking. That dude's
Right,
that dude's a psychopath. yeah. He's fucking us.
That was a good question though, Michael, because like we didn't do anything for the election. Honestly, it was such a dark day. Like it was so drab. Not much was said, and honestly, the mood. I don't know if you guys have felt like this.
No, yeah, no.
Since
100%.
then till now, like it just feels like it's felt like this the last couple months, but it just feels like we're really in a void almost.
No, that 100%.
It feels like the Hunger Games movie at the inauguration. It felt like they were gonna start calling out names to do like a giant like real life battle royale match.
Yeah, they're just Michael Reyes.
Like,
all right, so we're gonna start killing off some of the poors. We got to make room for more luxury housing.
And no,
Michael
it wasn't
Reyes,
just
Oxnard,
Lady Gaga's
California.
outfit, which obviously was must have been some kind of a direct call to that story. Right. I don't get it otherwise.
Slay Queen. That's all I gotta say.
I like that outfit. I thought that outfit was cool.
Slay Queen. Lady Gaga
One of the only
served.
like bulwarks to this kind of exploitation, though. Now I like these. If they keep making these videos, we should keep doing them because they're really good. They're succinct. They get the point off in only like 5 minutes.
Is this a new video? Oh, it is.
Yeah, this was a new one.
Oh wait,
but
I was just putting on these videos.
Like the only bulwark to this kind of stuff is unions and workplace democracy. And Ian, you have another story that we have that that's not looking good for us.
I can go ahead and bring that up
once again
right now.
Yeah.
And I just looked up the Lady Gaga dress to see what you mean. It's very fucking.
I haven't seen it either. What is it?
It's very Hunger Games.
Yeah.
Like just like overly elite. It has like a big gold like mockingbird.
I thought she was gonna come out in like full
chin?
white makeup and just like completely like fill the role entirely. But
no, yeah,
it's like those futuristic movies that like have a society where there's like a super poor society and then like a really high up corporation, like,
right?
United States 2021
part of it, and like she's a part of that.
So real life, yeah.
Interesting.
So yeah, back on the
fiction becomes reality.
Which way?
We have this piece from The Verge here. Carlos, do you want to go ahead and pull that up for us?
Yeah, I saw this shit too because this was pretty not big news because it wasn't being covered, but I thought it was pretty substantial.
Yeah, this is insane, and it's only this didn't happen in California, but I can only imagine that this is in the coming waves of what's going to happen with Prop 22, as well as
right.
And they did and as well as the dangers of Prop 22 like bills spreading in other places.
They did the grocery store workers here too.
Yep.
Recently, so that's fucked too.
Yeah. So we have this piece from The Verge here. Instacart is firing every employee who voted to unionize. The layoffs are hitting 10 unionized workers in Skokie, Illinois, in addition to other Instacart employees. Instacart is laying off every employee who voted to unionize, Motherboard reports. The news comes as the company shuts down in-store operations at some grocery stores amid the coronavirus pandemic and doubles down on curbside pickups. The layoffs impact 10 unionized workers at a grocery store called Mariano's. In addition, to other Instacart employees, the group in Skokie, Illinois, a suburb of Chicago, voted to unionize last year with the United Food and Commercial Workers Local, 1546 UFCW. It was a landmark victory for gig workers and represented the first time employees of tech companies that rely predominantly on contract labor have formed a union to collectively bargain for better wages, benefits, and working conditions. Employees were in the process of negotiating their first contract when the news of the layoffs hit. These layoffs are totally discouraging for any gig workers who are trying to do something that makes these jobs better. One unionized worker told Motherboard that they said that they were fighting for health insurance and vacation time in their initial contract. UFCW told Motherboard the layoffs will impact nearly 2,000 of the company's 10,000 grocery store workers. The news could could have a chilling effect on other organizing efforts by Instacart employees across the country. The company's leadership has already shown its hostility towards organizers, running a union-busting campaign, on top of normal corporations' anti-union stance, as well as mixing that in with anti-union uh, training videos, something that's used very regularly all over the place. Most of you who work normal jobs have probably seen something along those lines. Um, although the pandemic has changed the company's in-store shopping model, it's also brought a significant increase in demand for groceries delivery. This year, Instacart plans to go public, an event that could value the company at roughly $30 billion. So obviously, I'll stop here for a second. Obviously, that plays a huge part into why they laid off these employees for trying to unionize, because other groups would try to unionize, etc., and bargaining for the collective bargaining for higher wages and more benefits is going to take from their profits, so they have to cut them short. And something that they mentioned just in the paragraph right above, this news could have chilling effect on other organizing efforts by Instacart employees across the country. Not only other Instacart employees, but we talked about on the last show that we had about Amazon. There's an Amazon fulfillment center who are doing a vote on, I believe, February 8th to unionize. And so yeah, I mean, I'd imagine that this is spreading. This is and this is getting around. This could be something that's very scary and kind of discouraging for them. And it's I don't have any data to back this up. It's kind of just my own like tinfoil hat kind of thing. But this could potentially be dangerous to the people who are going to go and vote on the 8th for whether they unionize or not. And more information like this. And I'll go ahead and continue here. The company announced the layoffs in a blog post about new grocery pickup models. Instacart said it would transfer some of the impacted shoppers to other grocery stores and provide transition assistance to people looking for work. We know this is an incredibly challenging time for many as we move through the COVID-19 crisis, and we're doing everything we can to support in-store shoppers through this transition, the blog says. And by that, obviously, they mean fire you for trying to unionize. How stupid are you for trying to make a better living for yourself and for future employees? Big dumb poo-poo face. Now you're fired. Yeah, just more disgusting shit from corporations. And I thought this piece was insane. I saw it spreading around left Twitter, or the left Twitter that I go and lurk on. And yeah, and it's scary as somebody who lives in California and also works for the huge Amazon subsidiary Whole Foods. Just how dangerous this stuff can be. And with Prop 22 being passed here in California, further fucking over gig workers and not allowing them to have the same basic labor rights that employees have had for almost a century now, a little over a century. It's absolutely insane and quite horrifying for the labor force. And solidarity with the workers who are fired, solidarity with everybody who is attempting to unionize, no matter where you work, small or big. It's very important that you collectivize and you absolutely fight for higher wages. You absolutely fight for benefits, pension plans, etc. It's incredibly important. And something that I just talked about on my Twitter not too long ago is how insanely different the unionization rates are in comparison to the Americas and the Nordic countries, and even France, who on paper has a lower rate of unionization. But because of how powerful France's unions are, I believe they're not, excuse me, I believe their number is about 9 to 10% unionization rate. But because of how powerful their unions are, the benefits that these unions have spread to about 80% of the workforce.
Right, they have a bunch of like pension plans and stuff.
Exactly.
Famously.
And then you have before I get into this one, I love talking about this one, but you have the Nordic countries who hover around 70 to 80% unionization. Their workforce is just solid, almost fully unionized. That's incredible. But then you have a country like Chile. Chile, the neoliberal test grounds for the United States, has a higher rate of unionization than the United States of America. I believe ours is or somewhere around 11 to 13% switches off, and then I believe there's I want to say 15 or 18%.
Wow. Still,
So
though,
yeah,
I mean, theirs is
even
better, but it's still abysmal.
no, but
Which is just
exactly, and
affected by us.
not only that, but yeah, neoliberal testing grounds. We just brought our economics over to this other country, and they have more unions than us. Like we suck at it so bad.
Yeah, it's not even close.
Yeah, but yeah, I wanted to bring that up briefly and bring this piece up because I thought it was very important.
If you want a dystopian word, transition assistance. Some use in a movie,
Cyberpunk
or real life.
What?
Yeah. Yes. I mean, if you read that in like isolated, you would have no fucking idea what that means.
That'd be the Save Your Soul program in Cyberpunk.
Yeah. Like transition assistance, it's where we send your soul from the 3rd level of heaven to
the 7th level of hell.
Of hell, yeah. Also known as a union job to Grubhub.
Union job to DoorDash.
Also, shout out to Italians. Italians seem to get it done with unions.
Yes.
They just eat the pizza.
They don't fuck around.
Union. Good stuff.
We love our unions in Italy.
How exactly do you form a union, and how does that like get like accomplished in a way? Does that have to go through like the company? Like the company has to do it, or like how?
Think about it. It's very difficult because what's the premise of a union? Yeah, here specifically, yeah.
Because like our these corporations have so much power. It's just like they don't care, you know. Yeah. But I feel like in other countries, it would almost. I'm not gonna say hurt them, but I mean, in a way, you know,
it's all about like public pressure, more or less.
Yes.
Right. But corporations here just don't give a shit. So
it's not that they don't give a shit. They understand how dangerous unions are to their profit. And they don't allow it to happen because, for example, there's more billionaires per capita in Nordic countries. Specifically, Denmark has the most, I believe. There's more billionaires per capita. That means, they look at the per population.
That means they have thriving capitalism.
Exactly. There's more billionaires per capita in places like Denmark and Sweden than there are in the United States, and they have near full unionization rates. Unions aren't the death of companies. No, corrupt capitalists are the death of companies. Greed is the death of companies, and mismanagement of resources and funds is the death of companies.
Well, there's almost an irony so I didn't mean to cut you off, but
that's okay.
When often like a company will bring a union in who like they are willing to work with, and it's almost like there's the union and the company arguing, and then half the time you have like nothing to do with it.
Yeah. Really, yeah, true. Like, corrupt unions definitely are an issue here in the United States.
Michael does raise an interesting question though, because specifically living here, go to your job and inquire about a union, or try to talk about starting a union. See what happens.
Yeah,
it's not good, and people know that by experience. We even know not to talk about work often, not outside of work. In fact, most people, we go to work, we do our shit, and then we go home.
Yep.
Because we don't want to be there, because we don't enjoy being there.
Yep. And if you talk about it, they silence you.
Yeah, often.
By making you lose your job. And specifically living in California, where it's like the to fire a will or whatever. Like you don't have to have a reason to fire somebody in California. Yes. It's insanely dangerous to talk about.
In the United States as a whole.
But
make up any reason, really.
Yeah.
But
very, very.
Michael's right. Like, not only do we not have the mechanisms like these other countries do, like you're saying, Ian, like they have all these high unionization rates, but we don't even have like the language here. Like, we can't even talk about there's not even discussion about union. Just Michael asking that question proves we don't have the language.
Absolutely.
Because I would ask the same question, because I have no idea either. Because we
absolutely,
don't. Yeah, no. It's not something we do.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm in the same boat. I couldn't explain to Michael how to start a union.
Yeah, good luck. Yeah,
I know. It's emptiness, protest, emptiness, strike, blah blah
there
blah.
There is a literal way.
that's
Like Carlos is right. It's about pressure, outside protests, actually building mechanisms.
Well, that's the point of
point
multinational corporations is they don't want to have to be accountable to any kind of unionization whatsoever. And if people want to actually build like ground up unions, they'll just move. They'll leave. They have no problem leaving.
Yep.
They
That's
have
what they're doing.
thousands of stores all over the country. And that's why fucking chain stores are a bad idea fundamentally.
Yep.
Because you give them way too much power to exploit local communities for fucking all they have. Exploit the people for cheap labor. Cheap goods that they can make massive profits on.
Right, but nothing goes back to the community at all.
Like with the Amazon Fulfillment Center coming, with all the corporations that are here in Oxnard, California right now.
Right, and part of our struggle is we have to find not only the actual tactics of how to, but literally the language. Like we have to learn how to talk about starting unions. And
absolutely.
Working together in the workplace in different ways than we have before. This next piece, let's just pull it up quick because I just want to touch on it because I feel like, people might say, hey, censorship isn't so bad. You can't even give me an example of like, one that's really bad or one that's objectively like where someone on the left has been censored. Well, here you go. Here's a bad one. I have to read the translated version because I'm a gringo. But YouTube has closed the channel Marea.com without prior notice. It considers that the video that collects the audios of residents of Gran Canaria who planned hunts on migrants violates its, quote, policy on incitement to hatred. So they're actually a group that is basically trying to expose, border crime hate groups, and YouTube is censoring them.
Yep.
So this is nothing new. Like outside of censorship, we know that like just border activism specifically has been targeted. Like we know people that were leaving water out for migrants at the border were arrested. You can look this story up. They were arrested and charged for aiding and I don't even remember what the charges were. It was something ridiculous, like 20 plus years too. But now you see shit like this too, where they're just banned. Like come on, like they're exposing. This is real Nazism. You want to expose all this talk of combating domestic terrorism? What about the domestic terrorism we do right at the border? Like the kind of shit we do at the border and to the Mexican people is crazy.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and we've talked about that, and that's a whole other discussion. But yeah, I just wanted to highlight this because this is going to keep happening, and I mean, this is as clear of an example to me as any that like nothing's safe. Like they're willing to go after anything.
Yeah.
And well, you see the problem with how a lot of YouTube does their like content and copyright ID stuff, and with what violates their policies is if you simply talk about anything that happens to violate their policies, even if you're not explicitly advocating for such things, and you're just simply trying to like cover that these are things that exist. And that's the problem with this kind of censorship is that you're not even allowed to know that it exists now.
Yes.
And that's what the Biden era is going to be, is we're not even going to know this. And that's why I want to, every time we see and we got to point these out because they're just going to become part of the sea of things that get banned. And I don't want to be forgotten.
Of course, with Biden being the president now, all the libs have gone to sleep. They now assume America is completely fixed, so nobody's going to talk about this.
Yeah.
And so it's definitely our job to talk about this, and we hope you stick around to hear us talk about this stuff because it's very important, especially stuff like this. Like this channel literally was just trying to expose anti-migrant hate groups that were literally trying to hunt people crossing the border. and they got banned for incitement of hatred.
No. This is kind of a hard transition, but because this is kind of what we started the top of the show with, which was just general. What was the transition assistance?
Transition assistance into our next topic.
We were talking about just generally exploitation, but I just think this, the hyperdrive for profit that is capitalism. And I'm just going to read this story because it's so clear here. And people always paint Bill Gates as like the, charitable billionaire or the good billionaire. No.
No.
Says titled, "They pledged to donate rights to their COVID vaccine, then sold them to Pharma. In a business driven by profit, vaccines have a problem. No shit. They're not very profitable, at least not without government subsidies. Pharma companies favor expensive medicines that must be taken repeatedly and generate revenue for years or decades. Vaccines are often given only once or twice. In many parts of the world, established vaccines cost a few dollars per dose or less. Last year, only 4 companies were making vaccines for the U.S. market, down from more than 20 in the 1970s. As recently as February 11th, Dr. Anthony Fauci, the government's top infectious disease expert, complained that no major drug company had committed to step up to make a coronavirus vaccine, calling the situation very difficult and frustrating. Oxford University surprised and pleased advocates of overhauling the vaccine business in April by promising to donate the rights to its promising coronavirus vaccine to any drug maker. The idea was to provide medicines preventing or treating COVID-19 at a low cost or free of charge, the British university said. That made sense to people seeking change. The coronavirus was raging. Many agreed that traditional vaccine development, characterized by long lead times, manufacturing monopolies, and weak investment, was broken. Quote, "We actually thought they were going to do that," unquote. James Love, director of Knowledge Ecology International, a nonprofit that works to expand access to medical technology, said of Oxford's pledge. Says, quote, "Why wouldn't people agree to let everyone have access to the best vaccine possible?" Well, I'll tell you why, James. A few weeks later, Oxford, urged on by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, reversed course. It signed an exclusive vaccine deal with AstraZeneca that gave the pharmaceutical giant sole rights and no guarantee of low prices, with a less publicized potential for Oxford to eventually make millions from the deal and win plenty of prestige. Other companies working hard on coronavirus vaccines have followed the same line, collecting billions in government grants, hoarding patents, revealing as little as possible about their deals, and planning to charge up to $37 a dose for potentially hundreds of millions of shots. So yeah, not only are they exploiting us, but in the, whether our money should be going towards like social programs, et cetera, to actually help people, it's going towards, they're using it for subsidies for these giant pharma companies so that they can, now they've basically hijacked also a publicly researched vaccine at Oxford, and now they hijacked it so that they can sell it at high prices and in multiple doses in the millions to all of us.
Yeah, and I think this is just, blatant proof that the private sector absolutely cannot tend to the needs of the people. Capitalism just isn't working. I mean, it's working as intended, obviously. Carlos likes to say that, but
yeah, because it is. When they're in the beginning.
That's why Trump always praised it, because it was always working.
Yes, and in the beginning of the article, when they were saying too, like, hey, like we thought, it was gonna be free, and they were gonna give it out to people, considering it was public research, and they were gonna. Of course, they're not going to do that. We know this is what capitalism does.
Look at every other time anything's ever been publicly researched. Private corporation buys a patent and then just hoards it and mass produces, or not even mass produces it, just sells it at exuberant prices because nobody's going to stop them.
That's not restricted to vaccines. Like at the top of the show, we know that's extended to everything, whether it's the exploitation of us or other things. Mm-hmm. It's capitalism's drive to do this, endless profit. Yeah, it's the same with vaccines.
Yeah, with like copyright laws, it definitely exposes the total corporate capture of our government.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole point of copyright is to keep people out of the market.
Yeah.
Region locking, other things like that.
Yeah. And yeah, I just wanted to separate this a little bit because, you know, the virus is still raging, and, you know, the top of the show, you know, we kind of talked about that's our solution is unionizing, stopping the exploitation, and that's all part of a larger scheme, but of things too.
Mm-hmm.
But I just wanted to show with the vaccine, or rather with the virus raging, even the vaccines now that they're rolling out and people are getting it. My mom has gotten one now, and plenty of people have
at work get them.
Yeah. Just keep in mind, like, things aren't getting better. It's just another cash grab, another way capitalism is here to fuck us. Mm-hmm. It's right there. I mean, it's so obvious. We knew it was gonna happen. And yeah, that's my spiel.
That's my spiel.
I have a teacher that at the end of every, he goes, "That was my spiel."
I feel like I've heard a lot of teachers say that. That's my spiel.
Because a lot of teachers are fucking nerds.
Yep. Dweebs.
Dweebs, yeah.
You mean we're now the equivalent of college professors?
Yeah.
To keep on topic with COVID, I have a really just like a headline to pull up, something that I just wanted to talk about, just like super briefly. Mexican President AMLO has tested positive for COVID-19. You can just kind of pull it up just as a headline so people can see it on their screen. But yeah, Obrador, Mr. AMLO, has tested positive for COVID-19. Nobody is safe from this virus. No politician, no billionaire, no deep south chud, no holistics mom. This thing is coming for everybody. Doesn't care who. Does not discriminate.
Kind of crazy how long it took for him though.
No, right?
Because Mexico's getting wrecked. Coronavirus.
But yeah, something I wanted to add on really quick is that, but sadly, though the virus doesn't discriminate, the way our political system, as well as just every stop of the way in our economy and our society, we definitely discriminate. If you don't make enough money, you definitely are not gonna be getting any type of relief anytime soon.
Yeah, a lot of people still don't have their money. Where's my money? Where's my money, Joe?
Yep. They're just pushing it back. They're talking about like April now.
Yeah, and I won't be surprised if the money drops again.
Like, I keep hearing like, I'll hear 1,200, then 2,000, then 3,000.
Right now they're talking about 1,400.
14, yeah. The hilarious thing to me was that because they gave people the 600, some people got like the 600 early, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're like, okay, we're gonna give you the 1,400. And they're like, people are like, hey, fuck you. We thought you said we were going to give us 2,000. They're like, that is 2,000 if you add the two together.
You got to round up.
That's what I did.
Does I tell that to the landlord?
Yeah, exactly. Like, bitch, I already spent that money. Like,
you see, when you asked for $2,000 for the rent, I thought you meant it was this month's and last month's put together. You were talking about. I thought you meant
you're gonna give me $2,000 because that's what it means when you tell me you're gonna give me $2,000. You fuck. Like, it's that. It's just so goonish.
Yeah, I was just telling Carlos the other night actually. As soon as Biden said we're gonna do $1,400 checks, I was like, oh, we're just not gonna get them.
Yeah, or it's just gonna be delay. It's our Brexit. They're just
innocent people are just dying, and they don't give a fuck.
Yeah, some people get their money. That's okay. The whole point is the system needs to just not work. So
it proves that they can't even really take a stand on anything if they wanted to.
No, they're that feckless. Yeah.
Or no way, I'm sorry. They can take a stand on something. And we know what that is. Making sure the left has no power.
Yeah, and just and doing that too.
They know how to really make a stand during the Democratic primaries when it comes to that, apparently.
And the Republicans also know how to make a stand, but they do the
The grandstand.
Yeah, the make a stand.
Join the clan.
Yeah, that's Republican.
The grand old party.
God, what? The good old boys party. Do we want to go to the Detroit news piece?
Yeah. Really quickly though, Jose did ask a question in chat. He said,
"Oh, interesting.
Can y'all explain what neoliberalism is?"
I might give the bowl to Carlos because I feel like Carlos has a succinct answer.
I kind of want you guys to talk about this, and then I actually have a Tribune piece that I just kind of had in my back pocket that very interesting that he asked that question. But yeah, go. I want you guys to.
Well, go get that. I'll give.
I have it. I have it right here in front of my face.
Nope.
Yeah, like I said, it was literally in my back pocket. If you want to say something first, go ahead, and then we can get into it. Yeah, I'm actually very interested in what Carlos has to say. So yeah,
I'll say I guess this probably isn't like the best definition. I know I've seen actual videos that people have tried to make on YouTube called like "What is neoliberalism?" and I think they do a lot better of a job explaining it. But I guess very simply is the liberalism core of it is the whole kind of live and let live idea, obviously, as liberalism is. But the whole neoliberalism part, kind of the new liberalism is that this kind of liberalism is specifically directed towards like large corporations and the financial sector and Wall Street, and letting them kind of live and let live and do as they please, and it'll all work out for the best because obviously they have our interest at heart, and they earn those positions by their good merit and their work ethic and their ability to make sure people are taken care of. But I mean, that's obviously not true. That they're clearly just as greedy as most Americans have kind of been taught to be in those situations where you want to make sure you get as much for yourself as possible, and if there's anything left over for anyone else, then lucky for them. But I mean, that's kind of the fault essentially in the whole thinking of the liberalism part, is by letting them do whatever they want, they'll never have the people's best interest at mind, and they'll always keep exploiting them. And I mean, yeah, you could insert pretty much any country into this dynamic and insert their own personal history and politics, but it's kind of the same cycle that keeps playing out, and it's just an excuse to not have any kind of oversight on the financial industry, which is the greatest potential to do evil because it's just the pursuit of money. I'll leave it at that.
I can already see the article that Eian had sent pulled up, but so I already can see what it. But yeah, Carlos said it at the end. It's basically just hyper individualism.
Yeah, and I was just about to say, and that is just kind of a step towards heading, I guess, into a future of like a neo-feudalist, like hyper individual. Those at the top of society with all the money, all the power, will get their little land grabs, and then you just exist in Amazon land.
Yeah, and the justification is, well, you little person can become big person, but we know that reality is not true.
And I guess in this sense, I could kind of extend it to more than just like the top of society. It's kind of just the hyper individualism.
It's an underpinning
of all people.
It's a whole ideology that underpins our society. I think a good way to define it too is it's like anything. If you just not its opposite, but like it's tag team brother, neo-fascism or just fascism. If you can kind of understand what that is and the extremes that goes to, which is, if anything, just hyper-capitalism.
Yep.
Neoliberalism is really just hyper-individualism that is the precursor to.
I mean, and an example, I guess, that we can give directly is Pinochet in Chile.
Yeah.
You have this. Yeah. You have this whole neoliberalism thing, and then a fascist comes in and does what fascists do.
Yeah, but he saying like Pinochet was a neo-fascist, but he did neoliberal policies.
Exactly.
Someone could say that.
Exactly.
Well, you can have fascist tactics to your neoliberalism.
Right. He's just they're a neoliberal that's gone further. They're willing to openly murder and kill people, which neoliberals aren't always willing to do. They are willing to kill people through different means, but
they usually don't like to do it outright and make it all bloody and gruesome for everyone in the public to see.
Yeah. Well, Joe Biden is just an extension of that Bill Clinton-esque new type of Democrat establishment person.
Yeah, they would both be neoliberals, but so would one could say Ronald Reagan is also a neoliberal.
Absolutely, and
they all are because the system is, in a way, it's what's our ideology right now. It's not not that we should accept it, but
yeah, and kind of how you pointed out that the neoliberalism feeds into creating the fascism. Yes. You can almost just at this point you just drop the neo labels and just say liberalism and fascism, or just the cycles that feed into each other. And I guess just adding the neo to it is to exemplify how they can change over time and conform to the new standards of society. So they're constantly changing and evolving, but at the end of the day, it's the two-handed cycle of keeping the ruling elite in power.
Absolutely. And then, to get into this article, as Jacan, I don't want to say give a spoiler, but he talked about Ronald Reagan. We have this Tribune piece. The Tribune mag, they are incredible. They're based in the UK, absolutely amazing. 100% recommend going to.
I tried to get a print here. You can't get a print, but you can get digital issues if you subscribe.
And then a specific writer that I really recommend to you guys from Tribune is Ronan Burtonshaw. He has a couple of things on the Michael Brooks show. If you go type in TMBS Ronan Burtonshaw, you can find some really interesting stuff, as well as listen to Michael Brooks talk. And Michael Brooks is rest in power, rest in peace his soul. But very intelligent man and a very great speaker. But let's go ahead and get on top of this. How neoliberalism created a society of individuals. Decades of neoliberal policies have reshaped our world, but perhaps their deepest impact has been to corrode the bonds which underpin society, replacing the collective with the individual. Margaret Thatcher, when introducing a swath of neoliberal reforms that would transform the British state for decades to come, famously stated, "Economics are the method. The object is to change the soul." While many will be familiar with the macroeconomic policies introduced by successive neoliberal governments over the years, from public spending cuts to privatization, to central bank independence, how these policy changes influence the way in which we relate to the world is perhaps less obvious. And something I kind of want to just point out there, look at public spending cuts, privatization, central bank intelligence, and I guess this is kind of an extreme example of what it is, but Nazi Germany, like this extension of taking from the public and giving to your private buddies, essentially, and under the facade of just scapegoating races, ethnic groups, whatever it may be, using that as a reason we need to take your public funds to go private to fix the issues that said scapegoat has created. And I guess that's just a way to correlate it, make a comparison to better set in the idea. But
it's same thing, just without the neos. It's just the old fascism, the old liberalism.
The intellectual foundations of the neoliberal turn could be found in the failures of Keynesian economic policy from the 1970s onwards. Most obvious, the breakdown between employment and inflation that had guided the state's macroeconomic policy for most of the post-war period. With inflation spiraling out of control in the 1970s, the problem, argued monetary money people.
Monopoly dudes.
Yeah, monopoly dudes. Where was that? Was that the public sector and its allies in the labor movement were out of control. As Geoff Mann argues in this brilliant essay, the theoretical revolution that took place within macroeconomics centered upon the idea of rational expectations. If everyone expected taxes to rise because the government was spending too much money, they'd put aside savings to pay for them, sucking as much demand out of the economy as a higher government spending added to it. The unions, the argument went, anticipating higher inflation, would continue to demand too much from their employees, creating a self-fulfilling cycle of rising prices. What was required was kind of a shock therapy to dramatically reset expectations and encourage people to adjust to a new normal in which the state was smaller, the unions were less powerful, and individuals were expected to be responsible for their own well-being. As should be clear from the language used to describe the problem, there is also a moral critique lurking beneath the surface of neoliberal theory. The state had grown too large on the back of constant Keynesian counter-cyclical spending and was now skewing market outcomes in favor of... Oh, shit. What's that word, bro?
Profligate?
Profligate? Profligate? Scroungers.
More or less, the government spent money so that capitalism didn't blow up in people's faces.
I see.
And ruin everyone's lives.
Or wasteful in the use of resources. You were right, profligate. Scroungers rather than hardworking savers. People needed to learn to rely on themselves rather than the state, or implicitly, each other. The method was economics. The object was to change the soul. So yeah, like, as besides the little how I know how to say the word, like the whole like this little like section that we just read is basically giving the backstory and what it is, like what neoliberalism is and why they said it was the answer to what the problems were, and taking power away from unions and basically saying, here, look, just you now. You're in charge. If you fail, it's only your fault, nobody else's fault. And don't expect your neighbor, don't expect your family member, don't expect your friend to dig you out of this hole. Don't expect the government to dig you out of this hole. You put yourself in it, and it's your fault, kind of thing.
Right.
And so
which just makes people isolate themselves from society.
Exactly.
Whether they're the victims or not.
Right. That's how we lose that ability. Like, why we can't talk about work.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's
like this.
You've been pushed into such of a corner. Everybody has, and so you don't talk about what's pushing you in the corner because it's so ingrained in your brain that it's just your fault and you need to work harder and etc.
Or there's always like something you could be doing that's better than what you're doing now to put you in.
Yeah.
It's like a constant race. It's a constant hustle.
Rat race.
Yeah.
And I'm going to continue on here. In other words, the neoliberal turn generated a profound shift in the dominant understanding of the relationship between the individual and the collective. Society, to the extent that it even existed, came to be seen as a totalitarian mass, epitomized by Star Trek's Borg, often referred to as the collective, against which the rugged individuals of the Enterprise battled constantly. Rather than understanding ourselves as individuals who rely upon and responsible for one another, the individual came to be seen as an isolated particle, floating freely in space, occasionally bumping up against other particles, but never really becoming embedded in a community, a class, or society. This profound shift in the way we understand ourselves in the world was reinforced by the material changes that were introduced in the neoliberal era. Forms of social insurance into which everyone contributed and most withdrew were disassembled and replaced with individual insurance pots, from one's saving account to one's private pension to one's home, asset-based welfare, in which one was to be expected to accumulate assets that could be liquidated in the event of unemployment or illness, is the dominant form of insurance that exists today. Equally, the shift from public to private spending and from government to household debt has also reinforced the narrative of self-reliance over collective responsibility. Consumption is a deeply individualized activity that reinforces our sense of difference from and superiority or inferiority to one another, even if our tastes and preferences are profoundly shaped by wider society. And the experiences of indebtedness can be highly isolating. While one can band together with other workers to bargain with a boss, you can't bargain with your bank unless you're extremely wealthy. A debtor is more likely to feel personal shame and anxiety about their situation than they are righteous indignation about the kind of society that would produce a class of people who can't afford to make ends meet. The pandemic hit society that had become more isolated and individualized than ever in the decade followed the financial crisis. When it became very obvious that capitalism was rigged in favor of those at the very top, the neoliberal narrative of individual responsibility was brutally reinforced through the ideology of austerity. It is everyone's personal responsibility to repay their debts, except, of course, the bankers themselves, because we'll just bail them out. The entire edifice of the welfare state was ripped to pieces. The forms of collective insurance that remained, from unemployment to disability support, were dismantled and replaced with utterly degrading forms of workfare designed to encourage individual responsibility. Meanwhile, the rich benefited from more state support in the form of bank bailouts and money creation directed towards the financial sector than ever before. When COVID-19 hit the UK, it hit a large mass of individuals who had become profoundly isolated from one another. The realization that, in fact, all connected encouraged a revival of mutual aid and collective solidarity, as well as a groundswell of public support and those putting their lives on the line to protect everyone else. But it wasn't long before neoliberal logic reasserted itself. The government decided that the best way to deflect blame from its appalling handling of the pandemic itself, the result of the destruction of the state capacity, which was the legacy of several decades of the neoliberal rule, was to shift it onto individuals, and it worked. The public is now more likely to blame themselves for the spread of the virus than they are the state, which threw money at outsourcing giants that utterly failed to implement effective systems of testing and tracing, which paid people to go to the restaurants when it was quite clear the virus was not under control, and which reopened schools without the capacity to manage the process. Many on the left, looking at the polling and wondering how people don't blame Boris Johnson's government for what's going on, the individuals who live on this island are described as self-sabotaging drones who are unaware of their own interests. In fact, unembedded spread of neoliberal ideology has created a world in which we have no one to blame but ourselves, because we cannot imagine anything beyond ourselves. And yeah, I just when I read through everything, this the first time it was a great piece, and I thought I would share it with everybody, especially because the question of neoliberalism came up, and I thought it was interesting.
I think only England should get neoliberalism. It should only be shitty there.
Oh, yeah. Just for all of
it's got to hit hardest there first. Then we'll feel the real pain.
Oh, Boris, shake my hand, bruv. Yeah, bruv. Oh, yeah. And
it really has limited us, though. We just can't even.
Why do you have the bad guys flag? I played Cold War. I'm a bad guy.
I'm a bad kind of guy. Duh.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay, so live
for war crimes.
Live Spoop Podcast tweet. Co-host Jacan has died.
Yeah.
Assassinated by the CIA.
I've been replaced with a quote twink. That's what the file says. Don't ask me.
Breaking news: Jacan has received the
like 3 times.
Excellence in Journalism Award.
Michael did die according to the Twitter.
Yeah, Michael's got clapped. Carlos has fled the country. Yeah.
I mean, all are true.
Jacan went to DC, which is true.
That is true.
There's been no Eian tweets yet.
Maybe you're the one who's in charge of it.
Absolutely not. No, there's an omniscient being in charge of the Spoop Podcast Twitter. We have no control of it.
His name's Abraham Rangel.
The real man behind the mask.
The real man behind the mask.
Final thought? But yeah, that was a big random turnoff from what we had planned for the show.
That was good though. Good question.
Yeah, great question, Jose, and I'm glad we went on this tangent. To get into some of the real final piece of the show, we have just again like a short headline thing I want to read because we're still waiting on some updates from the actual protests that are happening in India right now. So just a headline here from the Detroit News. Hundreds joined Detroit car rally to show solidarity with farmers in India. And there's like a short video of just what everything looks like. You can play it if you want. Keep it muted, but just cars driving down the street, bunch of people showing support. It's really cool. And yeah, we're still waiting on some updates. They're still trying to get negotiations with Modi. They're still assembling in huge numbers and keeping that constant pressure. I believe on the 8th of February, there's going to be a vote whether to they're gonna put basically like a free travel ban on India, and there's gonna be a vote for that on the 8th. So we'll definitely have an update on that for you when it happens. And this is obviously going to be used to mass arrest protesters, as there's a travel ban in the country and you're moving to the country. Obviously, that's going to cause issues. So yeah, so I believe it's February 8th, I believe it's February 8th. But so yeah, we're gonna solidarity with the protests in India, and it's really cool to see support from the states, from places who have been very affected by privatization of their jobs and sending them out to other places, like Detroit, like Motor City, like just lost so much because of neoliberal policies.
Right, fastest growing city in America at one point, and now its population has gone down.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to get someone from the Midwest on or something, or like
we know a couple of people from the Midwest.
That's what I'm saying. We could do. I'm always open to collaboration because it's so interesting to hear other people's perspectives.
Absolutely, yeah.
They always have something valuable to say.
Collaboration would be very interesting.
Yeah.
It's better than just having to constantly pick our brains for 30 plus episodes.
Right. Yeah, we all live in the same area generally, kind of.
Yeah.
I mean, we have our different thoughts, but it's somewhat bubbled.
Yeah. we definitely stray off on areas, and we've talked about some of them on the show, and hope to talk about more later in the show as well. But yeah, I just wanted to bring that up. Obvious solidarity with everybody. Workers overall unite. It's super important that we all have solidarity with each other, and we all work towards a society where democracy is extended into the workplace, and you do have a say. You do have a say in what happens at your job, because you spend a third of your life sleeping, and you spend fucking the other third working. Yeah, like fucking. You spend most of your life at your fucking job, dude.
Yeah, as an adult.
So you should definitely have a say in what the fuck happens at that place you spend like the greater part of your adult life at.
And if you don't have a say, then you're being treated as no more than a machine part.
Yeah.
Yeah, if not worse.
But yeah, I just wanted to bring this up as a headline. It was a relatively short show, but I think we had a lot of good we had a lot of good discussion, so the show ran longer than I thought it was. But yeah.
If you're interested in more India stuff or any of our stuff, we have all of that in our YouTube.
Yes, everything is on the YouTube. Do you want to put that in chat really quick, Michael? Just hit it with the socials, please.
Shit, no.
I'll pull up the stream real quick. Fuck. But yeah.
Yeah, for any of our topics, I mean, we usually revolve around the same couple topics. India has been one we touch on a lot, so if you're interested in that.
Yeah, so keep up to date with us on our Twitter and our YouTube, Instagram. All of that's just look up Spoop Podcast. You'll find us. If you like these live shows, dropping a follow would be very much appreciated, because you're more likely to come back and see what we have to say about other shit. Yeah, and if you're watching without an account, don't forget to create one and drop a follow, because like I said, you're more likely to keep coming back and keep this community growing. which is like the super cool part, and we really appreciate it. And also, if you want to support us further, you can go ahead and subscribe with the Twitch Prime. If you have an Amazon Prime, you can link it to your Twitch, and it costs you zero extra money. It's just something that Amazon hands you for free, and giving it to us would be super cool. We would really appreciate that. It only helps us and makes us look better in like the statistics and whatnot. So that's cool as well. So yeah, like, we're all pretty much done here. If anybody has final thoughts, go ahead and speak them now. But if not,
the capitalist shill closer.
Hey! I'm a wolf in sheep's clothing.
I don't know if you guys said it when I stepped out for a second, but fuck Tom Brady.
Fuck Tom Brady.
Fuck the Buccaneers. They're the instrument of fascism.
Tom Brady is literally the embodiment of white supremacy. Change my mind. I will debate you on this.
The Bills and the Browns were the last two venues for populism.
And the defenders of democracy. And they were crushed by
they were crushed.
They were crushed by the boot of fascism. That is Tom Brady and the Buccaneers.
And one more fun fact I learned today. Let me make you guys all guess something. What is the only of the 4 major leagues in the United States that includes the NHL, the NFL, the MLB, and the NBA? There's one professional franchise team that is owned by its community.
Really?
One? I'm surprised.
There's only I'm not.
I'm surprised there's even one.
Can I get one?
I'm surprised there's one.
Can we get one hint?
They played today and they won.
They played in football.
Oh, football.
Played today and they won.
Who the fuck? Oh shit. Kansas City?
I'll be politicky for you guys. They were a swing state for Trump in the last election, the prior election.
Bro, I don't give a fuck about politics.
This is like you're asking me like what did you eat for breakfast?
Oh, Wisconsin, the Packers.
The Packers.
Really?
They are owned by the shareholders or the community that lives in that area, and it's something like 300,000 something separate shares. And to anyone that says like that shit don't work, the Packers I also learned are like one of the oldest NFL teams. They're like the 3rd oldest, I think, if not the. They have the most NFL championships.
But weren't they the first ones?
They were like among the first 3. They won the first 2 Super Bowls, and they won the most, but a lot of them were like pre-merger. But still, they're like one of the most dominant teams of all time. They're one of the oldest sports teams of all time. And Wisconsin is the smallest NFL market of all the teams. Yet they're they're in the top 10 for value of the teams. So,
damn,
you learn something every day.
That's super interesting.
Yeah.
Also, fuck Aaron Rodgers.
Oh yeah, no, I don't like them. They didn't make me like them anymore. I still want the Bills to win.
Yeah, fuck the Packers and fuck Aaron Rodgers, but that's very interesting.
So yeah.
How about fuck billionaires owning teams?
Yeah, fuck billionaires, exactly. Sports teams are like one of the most obvious ones to me that should be owned by communities, because they're the ones that like participate in the whole thing.
Exactly. These kids come from the fucking communities that raise them.
They buy the season tickets.
Well, that's the problem with as more wealthy owners come in, you get less like community built up teams, and you just get like super teams thrown together.
Well, like a specific example is the Seattle Supersonics, who were they were a good basketball team, top basketball team, and like they were really built up by the city. They might have been partially like collectively owned as well. Their team was dismantled. They became the OKC Thunder, which they're shit now. But just because the market they preferred, so they left Seattle. It was completely a money thing. Stupid.
Yeah.
Or think about like the Raiders, how like there are all these Raiders fans here in California.
They just move.
And
they just move on us. Yeah, Raiders was my team. Now I don't fuck with the Raiders. You can't move to Vegas.
I was born a fucking Raiders fan. I have to.
I'm liking I might rep the Chargers because they got Justin Jackson, who's like the guy that always goes on Jimmy Dore and stuff.
As long as you're not a fucking 49ers fan.
Oh yeah, that's cool. Bills too. I was Bills and Browns. I always go for the underdogs.
Oh yeah. I mean, the Browns are my team. I literally created them.
It's true. Well, they created you.
No, I created them.
You were born in symbiosis.
Yes.
Yeah, that was my final thoughts. The Packers are collectively owned.
And fuck Tom Brady.
And fuck Tom Brady, fascist pig. I hope he fucking loses so bad.
I hope you see this, motherfucker. I hope you lose.
It's true. I'll never go to Florida though, or I don't even know if he lives there.
As he wipes his tears with $100 bills.
Yeah, his like 5 rings or whatever.
Kisses his son on his lips.
Yeah.
You know he does that? It's fucking weird as shit.
Does he really? Did he say that?
He kisses his son on his lips.
Oh god.
Oh, now you're gonna insult a man for loving his children.
He's a great American man. Loves his family, loves God, and loves guns.
You know when T.I. said he goes to the gynecologist
to see if her fucking hymen is broken.
Yeah, that's I forgot about that detail. That's the crazy part.
Fuck.
That means he's just a concerned father.
Oh fuck.
Like, bro, you can't make bad music and be a piece of shit. Just kidding. T.I. he has some decent collaborations about it.
He's fucking weirdo, but
yeah.
Yeah, I think enough random bullshit. Let's get the fuck out of here.
We've extended this as long as we can.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for watching. Again, I said this already. We really appreciate you guys watching. There's 11 of you right now, which is super cool. If you want to hear serious dialogue about things like neoliberalism and socialism in general, and you also want to hear shit like you just heard talking about how Tom Brady perpetuates white supremacy and how the Green Bay Packers are collectively owned, more random stuff like that, also come fuck with the Spoop Podcast. We talk about it all. We're also big nerds, big gamers on the side. We love our CSGO. We're old men. Yeah, come hang out. Come fuck with us. Thank you guys so much for watching. We're going to go ahead and get out of here now. Follow, check out the YouTube, check out Twitter, check out Instagram, all that Spoop Podcast. And yeah, we'll see you guys later.